have a motion to approve the order and approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor? Passes unanimously. We have several reports tonight. And our school board president is online. Hello, Carrie. Glad you're here and hope you're enjoying time with your kids and wherever you are. Our first report will be a district bond project update, and that will be by our superintendent.
Yep, pretty quick tonight, but lots and lots happening right now at the buildings. This was demo week, started today inside of Atchison High School, so it's a little crazy, but the point was to get everything moved and ready for full demo next week during spring break in terms of the locker rooms, choir room, band room. The entryway will be the last thing they start at the end of this project, and then they'll also do a few upgrades to the fax classroom, the weight room, and we're waiting on any potential to the field house. But so the roofers are roofing. Most of them have moved off of the elementary school. That crew has moved, just a few left at the elementary school. They've moved that crew to the middle school. High school roofing is wrapping up. All the boilers are exchanged at the elementary, halfway through the middle, and then they'll start the high school, I believe, over spring break as well. Those have to be flushed. There were a lot of issues last week with the electricity going off and messing with some things, so, and some of those things are being done in the bond, so we're really, figuring out how we're gonna patch that up essentially to get through the bond work. But a lot of construction happening right now, so, and finally things that you can see, so.
It's fun to drive by and see all the action at every single building, so that's great. Our second report, CTE presentation, digital media pathway. And so if our presenters would come up and make sure you identify yourselves. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. My name is Cole DeWitt, and I'm a senior at Atchison High School. Today we're excited to provide you with an update on the Media Technology and Communication Pathway, a comprehensive program in line with our CTE pathways designed to prepare our students for success in college and broadcasting careers.
Hello, I'm Braden Miner, and I'm a sophomore at Atchison High School. The Media Technology and Communication Pathway equips students with essential skills in broadcasting, video productions, and problem solving. These skills are immensely important to accessing careers in broadcasting and acquiring potential scholarships and opportunities in college.
The Media Technology and Communication Pathway will be changing for the next school year. The progression of the pathway will be Intro to Web and Digital Media, Audio-Video Fundamentals, Digital Media Technology, and Audio-Video Productions. These classes will be the 4 pillars of a program that will teach both technical and practical knowledge in the digital space.
Throughout students' time in the Phoenix Productions program, the students will have many opportunities to get involved in news broadcasting, news journalism, sports broadcasting, as well as creative content creation. These opportunities will take place in the classroom working on continuous projects such as the Screech, our creative content videos, and the Nest, our news-based videos.
The opportunities outside the classroom include sports broadcasting, news journalism, on-location filming, and community involvement. These opportunities help students build leadership and independence by providing real-life chances to learn skills.
Thank you for taking time to hear about the exciting changes and activities that the Phoenix Production Program has had. Support from the community around us allows us to thrive and continue our work.
Very nice, thank you. I'm sure we have a few questions for you, so stay up here. I do have a question too. About how many students are currently in the program, would you say?
Maybe about 30.
Okay. Is that how many students are, can you be in some of those digital media classes without being on the pathway? Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you think there's about 30 that are actually pursuing completion of the pathway?
Uh,
I think that's about right?
Yes.
Administrators? A little less maybe? Okay, very good. Who else has a question? Well, I have one more. Can you tell us how we can find the state basketball game on Wednesday afternoon?
We're not broadcasting.
You guys won't be
Is it a
there.
way-
Oh, I wish you could have been. That would have been fun to know that
The
you guys would be on the game.
So the state actually doesn't allow individual schools to
Oh,
broadcast that, otherwise we would. So they have a contract with the NFHS network, and you have to subscribe to that to watch the state basketball game, but they hit all the other ones, so.
Yeah, so are you guys doing the NAIA basketball this year, or, I know you've done it before.
I don't believe so. We haven't heard anything about it.
Okay.
Well, I do think some of the work that you do is service to our school district and our community, so thank you for all that you and your fellow classmates do in the program. So, and best of luck with completing your pathways.
So,
Thank you.
one more question. If you complete your pathway, then if you go on to college, or what, do you go into communications, or what are your?
I plan on going for sports communication, and he plans on,
Film and media studies.
so it's a very wide range of things you do.
That's fun. That's really good. Well, thank you very much for the great presentation. And our final report tonight is Personal Device Impact Task Force. They actually met today, and I think Renee Nugent and Nicole are going to share that with us.
Are we putting up anything for this or no? Nope, we're just gonna talk about it. So this was our third meeting today, and I'll kick it off and then I'll let Nicole take over. So we're very excited about the participation in this committee. It has been full every time we meet, so that's been excellent. We have today's meeting, we finally got through reviewing all of the policies and providing what the strengths, weaknesses, and recommendations are for each of those policies going forward. And then Nicole can talk a little bit next steps.
Yep, so at our next meeting, we plan to actually be drafting policy, and Renee and I will have some ready. We've taken the notes that we've gotten and the notes that everybody wrote. We're gonna use some AI to help us draft some potential policies. And so then our hope is that'll be the last meeting of the task force. Then we'll get our board policy committee together, and then we'll hopefully have a policy to bring for approval, right in time to go into the handbooks.
Very good.
So any questions about that? We've got students from the middle and high school level represented, staff from every level represented, some community members, teachers and principals, and classified as well, so.
I was wondering, did anybody see the article, or
Did anybody see the article in the Kansas City paper? They were talking about the different school districts like Blue Valley and Olathe, and what they have found out so far about the policies that they have implemented, the good and the bad.
Is that recent?
Yeah.
I've not.
Okay. It was kind of interesting. You may want to pull that up and,
Did you say it was the Kansas City paper?
yeah, Kansas City. Because some of them, it didn't work out like they thought, others, it was good. I mean, you know, they had different policies, like you can have your phone in between classes, or you can't have your phone at all, you can have it at lunch. I mean, they went through the different scenarios, and they talked to people there after they've had like a semester of implementation and what their thoughts were.
Great, we will look that up and share that with the committee. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Thanks to both of you, and thanks to all those who are serving on that committee. The next portion of our meeting is public comments, and we do have one public comment, but I'll first read the guidelines. In order to speak, you must have signed in on the request to appear before the board sheet, and they have. The board president may impose a time limit. The board president may ask groups with the same interest to appoint a spokesperson. Comments shall be limited to issues and not personalities. This is not an appropriate time or place to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or anyone else. Persons making comments that violate the privacy rights of district employees will be asked to terminate their remarks, and the board may refer your issue or concern to the administration. So thank you very much, Amy and Kelsey, for being willing to speak for your group. you may come forward. Will you share your last names with us as well?
Yes, I'm Amy Krug, and I probably need to step back. I'm loud, I probably don't even need this.
And I'm Kelsey Kimmy.
Am I ready to go?
Ready.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for your time this evening. I'm a mother of a senior softball player. Some of my most exciting memories has been able to see her play softball on the field with some of her best friends and teammates. This has also been some of the most frustrating times as a parent. Over the last few years, it has felt like our softball team has been often overlooked and not represented like some of the boys' sports. Altogether, I feel like the softball team has been disconnected from 409 altogether. The girls play at the rec field, which has no signing or representation of the school or of their team. The girls have had, of course, much fewer fans. It's really just a parent sport to watch. There's no concession stands, the bathroom is a half mile away, and there's no one broadcasting these games as well. These are all things that are out of your control, of course. Our girls have fundraised, made candy bouquets, to buy team gear, to buy stuff like a starter jacket and a black team colored jersey. We recognize that the school has limited funds, and these girls are willing to put in the extra work for those things. It hasn't been unnoticed by my softball player that the boys team has lots of fans, concession stands, signs that represent the school, senior banners, and their games are broadcasted. In fact, when she would get done playing softball, she often went to go watch the boys play because that's where all of her friends were. Our girls have been practicing at the gym. During poor weather, the boys baseball team uses the gym, and so sometimes our girls are forced to go into the weight room. This is because the boys get a preference. Our girls have been, of course, able to practice at the rec field, which hands down, thank you to those staff for working very hard to maintain a field so that they can practice outside. I don't know if you've ever tried to do any kind of offensive or defensive drills in a weight room. It's not very productive. It's kind of like you were working for a marathon and you were given a treadmill and it only goes up to 2 miles an hour. You have something to work with, but are you really making progress? With the bond issue, I was really excited for our athletes. I was hopeful that our softball team girls were going to be able to use the field just like the boys. Although we knew the project was specifically for a boys' baseball field, I was hopeful when the company posted on a social media site that it was ready for softball. I was like, yes, they're going to get to play at home. But it's been made clear that these fields are not made for girls softball, and that our softball team are not going to use those. Maybe someday, maybe. Although the field is currently set up where they could play softball, it's not an option. There has to be a softball fence, and that of course would cost money. Some of the girls felt like it was their responsibility to fundraise for this fence, and that doesn't seem right. It's not on them to figure out how to pay for a fence. I don't know why, when we have, we're in a tax-paying community that helps support bonds. So I want to ask, what are your steps as our elected officials that you're going to ensure that the female softball players are treated just the same and have just as much importance as male baseball players? Because from my perspective, that's not what I've seen. Thank you for this time. I will stand for questions.
I will get a hold of you tomorrow.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I don't know which number Kelsey put down, but
I put down mine, and I've been in talks with Carrie regarding this as well, and I know she's talked some to you about it. But yeah, we're just hoping for everybody to be on the same page. Okay.
Do you want to give Jeanette, our clerk, your phone,
Yeah.
the correct phone?
Yeah. And I would just add that I recognize my kiddo as a senior, and I love the sport of softball. There's so many good things that you get from this sport. I want them to feel like they are a part of the school, that they're not an afterthought. So I'm thinking about like this little girl, Raylan, who's in 8th grade, who's a great softball player. And I can't imagine her not having a fan base to go and cheer her on. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are ready to approve our, I need an approval for our consent agenda.
move that we can, that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
A second. All those in favor? And if it's okay, I'd like to give compliments to the campus covered on the nice donation they received from one of the Atchison grants. I forgot what that stands for. It's an City of Atchison grant. They received, I think it was $2,700 or something, so thanks to them. That's awesome. We have two action items tonight. The first is the approval of the 26-27 school calendar. This is the second read, so we will make approval tonight. And Nicole, are you going to share that? Or
I was just gonna talk about it. It's
Okay.
draft one of the calendar. It won the majority of the votes through the staff. And I didn't get any feedback after the last board meeting, so I would entertain a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Okay, I move to approve the 2026-2027 school calendar.
I second.
Any discussion on that calendar? Any questions? All in favor? Passes unanimously. The second action item is the Cognia accreditation process, and we talked about how that was a duplicate of the, is it KISA? Am I saying it correctly? The KISA, Kansas accreditation process. We talked about that at our last meeting too. Do you have any comments on that?
I can't remember if we had just gone to our KISA 2.0 meeting before that board meeting or after, but I think that with the work that's involved in KISA 2.0, I agree it's a duplication in some ways, but it also doesn't play as nice as I was hoping that it would play nice. So it would be my recommendation that we disband our association with Cognia and continue forward with KISA. I would entertain that kind of a motion.
I make a motion that we do away with
Cognia.
Cognia and we go into KISA.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Items for discussion and consideration. The first is a policy review. This will be a first read, so this is just for discussion. Thank you, Nicole.
Yep, so I just have some summaries of these policies, so we don't have to go through and read all of them together, but if you take a look at those, you're gonna have them in the board packet. So some of these are pretty easy changes, so for example, CG administrative personnel is going to take on both CGI and CD. This was a recommendation from KASB. We don't need 3 policies when one policy can say everything together. And then you can see there BDA, that's a technical grammatical change. CC organizational chart, this is the chart that we post in our handbooks where it shows kind of superintendent board where everybody lies. And so instead of putting that in a board policy that we would have to change every year, we can put that in the handbook and this board policy will just refer to it. And then those other 2 are some grammatical changes and then updates within law. And fundraising is one, if you'll take a careful read of that, this is a new policy. And so just around the state, KASB has heard from superintendents that they want some guidance related to fundraising. So if you would read through that, we had our administrative team look at it today as well. So the comment Renee made is if KASB is recommending it, then there's probably a reason for it. So if you'll take a look at that, it just gives some broad guidance for fundraising that we do in all our different activities. And then so that's the summary, but you have those packets, in your board packet you have those policies, highlight are the additions and then strike through with the others. So some nice light reading.
All right. We will get that done by our next board meeting and can take action on that in April. A second item for discussion, addition of proposed supplementals. This is also a first read, so Nicole will give us the info.
So we shared some supplemental proposals last year, and we always like to remind you that this is addressed within the negotiated agreement in terms of process. And so we just have 4 on here. So the first one is supplemental in Group I. It's related to musical drama, the assistant director. And so the proposal would be to move that to Group G. So currently, she's paid a supplemental for doing 2 musicals per year, and so we'd like to move that to reflect one supplemental that covers both of those. And this was a request from a staff member. And then the second one would be a proposal for a new supplemental specific to low incidence special education teachers. Those are our special education teachers who serve kids with extensive support needs, so they might have an alternative communication device, or they might have some significant medical needs, but there's a lot of additional work that goes in to provide for those students, so that's what that supplemental would be for. And then Group D, last year you had approved the change in the SPED ESL case management supplemental, and so we would just like to change that to call it SPED ESL Medicaid Billing Services Case Management. That's more comprehensive of the individuals who receive that supplemental, the job duties that they have that are outside of the school day. And then finally, we've got our letters supplemental. This would be a one-time supplemental. Do you want to talk about letters?
Yes, so the state is paying for the actual letters training, which takes place over a period of 2 years. I'll be meeting with elementary staff at the end of August, kind of to give them some options for getting the seal of biliteracy added to their license. But that will happen in around the year 27, 28. But the state is paying for 2 years of letters training, but there is also a lot of time outside of those courses. So the coursework for letters training, we will offer for the most part on contract time, and for the one time we have that's not on contract time, that'll be a paid day. But we would like to propose that teachers who complete year 1 of letters training, when that is complete and they've gotten their certificate for years 1, they get a one flat fee, $1,000 supplemental payment. And then when they finish year 2 letters training and receive the seal of biliteracy, they get the second $1,000 payment. So it would only be a 2-year commitment with the negotiated agreement. And there are other ways that teachers can get that seal of biliteracy, so I'll explain that to staff, because letters is it's a huge commitment, and we understand that. So, but if they choose to go the letters route for their licensure, we would offer a one-time supplemental for 25, 26, 26, 27.
Do the teachers have to pay a fee when they take the letters training?
No, the state is paying these first 2 years of letters training. Then that money runs out after 2026.
And then do you anticipate some teachers starting, say, next year with letters training, and then a couple years later, another group of teachers will start the...
So that's gonna be tricky, because they have to have that on their licensure. So if they don't start this year, they might have to start next year, but we won't be offering year 1 in the districts. They'll have to find a place to offer that. So we're gonna provide on-site training for years 1 and 2 next year and the following.
And then this would then sunset?
Sunset.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions, Franklin?
Also, the colleges are gonna be covering it, so when we get new teachers
Okay,
in,
yes, that makes
they
sense.
shouldn't have to have it.
Correct.
They should have gotten it through their college.
They will have a literacy, a newly developed literacy course for colleges that will prepare them to pass the praxis, which will be the new requirement for the seal of biliteracy.
Can you just describe letters for everybody? I know what it is, but have you heard of it before? It's just a
Well,
literacy
isn't this
program.
what colleges, there was a group, a state study group or something?
So that's a little different, that's more for the college course of it. So, and I wish I could remember the acronym, it's literacy for early something, I can't believe. Teachers of reading, teachers of reading.
There it is, yeah.
And it really is about hitting all of the science of reading and teaching kids how to read. So it is 100% great. It's just a stretch when you're in the middle of a teacher shortage and you're trying to retain people who are within 5 years of retirement, who now we're asking them to do 2 years worth of training. So we get that. And so we really want to explore options with staff. Some of our staff had letters training when we had the LINK grant several years ago. That doesn't count for this letters training. However, it probably prepared teachers for the praxis exam. And then also Ames Pathway is another approved pathway for letters, so.
And we did have some teachers take that, and they passed that, so that will count
And
And that
this is
one
for,
was even bigger than letters.
for all K-12 teachers? Or
So
K, what?
the seal of biliteracy will be K-6, anyone who teaches special ed in terms of literacy, any secondary, that's elementary or secondary literacy, special ed, school psychs will be required to have the seal of biliteracy. It's pretty extensive. So if you're a middle school teacher and you're teaching 6th grade under that K-5 license, but you don't teach reading, you can get an exemption to not have to have letters. But then if you ever go back into the elementary classroom and you're gonna teach reading, you'll have to have that seal of biliteracy. So it's gonna be really sticky in that middle school age group.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Finally, our last item for discussion and consideration is the summer maintenance capital outlay plan, technology plan, and transportation plan. This also is a first read, and thank you, Lori, for sharing with us.
Of course, thank you, Brett. Capital outlay, that time of year again. I wanted to start with where we've been and where we're going. I thought it was a good analysis when I was putting it together, but I do like numbers, so there's that. In 2020, 2021, that's when COVID hit, and our projects kind of came to a halt. Everything's backed up. But if you look at the interest in 2020, 2021, you'll see we got about $34,000. As of the end of the fiscal year 23, 24, the one we just finished in July, was $776,000. That's a difference of 23 times the amount. Crazy. The other big thing I wanted to point out is in 2020, 2021, we had iPads 6 through 12. That's when we had ESSER money at the time, and we bought K through 6 or K through 5 iPads at the time. So 2 years later, in 22, 23, you'll notice the iPads say 6 through 12, but it's actually K through 12, and that's why the amount for the lease went up so much. It was $96,000, and now it's $165,000. Okay, so that's where we are. This is where we're looking for your guys' guidance on projects for this summer. I split this year into 2 different categories, or 2 different before and after kind of thing. So on the 3rd category, or the 3rd column, it's 24, 25. And it has our beginning cash balance at the beginning of this fiscal year, which is July 1st, and that's $5.3 million. I split the revenue out as well. We've already had $392,000 in interest. So our total revenue that we will take in this year is about $800,000. And then I split it out to building needs and several other categories. But this is what has already been expended in the budget through through February. What we're looking for your support on is the next column over, and that's 24, 25, 3/1 through 6/30. This might cross fiscal years, obviously, because some of the projects won't get done until June, July, or August. But we'd like to start the process now so we can get bid specs out. And we also have a second read in case any of the prices change significantly by then. So it's the normal stuff that we do each year. I will point out that parking lots, we're planning on doing 3 this year. So that number is $507,000. The other big thing on there is fire panel and device upgrades. That's just an estimate right now. We will hopefully have a better number for you in the April board meeting. We did the signs at the high school. We're hoping to do the one at the middle school. The accounting software that we upgraded, that's on here. We are looking at doing a little more training and possibly getting another module. That's why that's in there for $20,000. The next 2 years we have projected slightly out, but with the bond going on and everything going in general, it's hard to determine what projects that will be, but I wanted to put placeholders in there for some kind of a dollar amount. At the beginning of the year, we had $5.3 million. With these projects that we've already completed and what we're asking for your approval on, we'll go down to about $4.6 million. We were building up capital outlay significantly because we knew our HVACs and roofs were in dire repair. Now that the bond has passed, it's time to start spending that on the needs of the district, such as the roofs, the vehicles. We have buses again. just doing some other remodeling that we had kind of put off. So that's what we're looking at tackling now. The next slide, oh, sorry, was there any questions on that? I kind of threw a lot of numbers at you. Don't worry, there's a second read, so you can go back and look at it tonight like I am. The technology, each year Donna's budget comes, what I call her recurring budget, comes out of our supplemental general fund. She gets right under $200,000. We like to put in here what she's spending that on, just for transparency purposes. You'll notice most of it is software supplies. She usually tries to do a lab update or Promethean boards each year, but this is what she has spent so far through February. And she told me to stay within her budget like she always does. Okay. Any questions I can answer?
Look over that, and here's some more from you in April.
Yes, thank you.
I do know a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, and maybe Renee can answer this one. So the 3 parking lots, which 3 parking lots are getting renovated? Do you know?
Sorry.
Go ahead, go for it.
The baseball parking lot, the southwest driveway parking lot, and the elementary school back parking lot will get the 2 mil overlay, so it'll be ripped up back down.
That's done every few years or?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the one up at the top of the hill across from.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And just a tag on that, that was actually, we were really hoping to do that last year, but that is where they're parking all of the stuff for the bond, and we knew it would tear that lot up, so that is being pushed back.
Okay, finally, we are ready to move into executive session. And we will have 2 executive sessions tonight, and we'll start with negotiations. Sean?
Madam Vice President, I move that the board recess into executive session to discuss the following subject: negotiations. The justification for this executive session is to discuss employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representatives of the body or agency pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under KOMA. The open meeting will resume in the BOE community room, we say 10 minutes. That's 6:42 p.m.
Thank you very much. Oh, I need a second. We need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Put it on. I thought it.
And at this time, we will take action on some personnel items, and Debbie, if you'll share that.
I move that we accept the following resignations. Michelle Fawcett, 6th grade team leader, Atchison Middle School, effective at the end of 24-25 school year. Miranda McLaughlin, bus monitor, Transportation Department, effective February 21st, 2025. Dakota Myers, paraeducator, Atchison Elementary School, effective March 6, 2025. Rusty Willis, co-teacher, Atchison High School, effective at the end of 24-25 school year. Carrie Ann Johnson, 1st grade special ed teacher, Atchison Elementary School, effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. Allie Weddle, Scholars Bowl sponsor, Atchison Middle School, effective at the end of the 2024-25 school year.
And I'll make a correction, that's Rusty Willis, co-teaching coach. So she'll still be teaching for us, she's just not gonna be a co-teaching coach, sorry.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. We now have some employment recommendations for 25-26.
I move that we accept the following employment recommendations for 2025-2026. Alicia Yoakum, Director of Curriculum, Instruction and Assessment District, effective July 1st, 2025. Catherine Gunderson, Associate Principal, Atchison Elementary School, effective July 1st, 2025. Jordan Malcolm, Head Football Coach, Atchison High School, effective July 1st, 2025.
Second.
All in favor? Or any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. We have a transfer.
I move that we accept the transfer of Julian Flores, food service, Atchison Elementary School to custodian, Atchison Middle School, effective March 17th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? And finally, supplementals.
I move that we accept the following supplementals for 24-25. Mara Laughlin, head soccer coach, Atchison Middle School. Hannah Phillips, assistant soccer coach, Atchison Middle School. And Jordan Malcolm, head football coach, Atchison High School.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, before we conclude our meeting tonight, I just now remembered this, and I'm sorry to share that in executive session. A longtime teacher of USD 409, longtime teacher of USD 409, Janet McCracken, died, and her funeral was last week, Monday last week, out of town. Just want to thank her for her service to our district at Atchison Middle School and at Burt Nash. She taught typing on the real line typewriters. So special thoughts of her. She was a fun teacher to work with. So anybody else have anything else to bring up tonight?
State basketball game is Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Go Phoenix, and we should be able to find it online if we go to their
NHFS website.
NH.
NHFS.
Okay, perfect.
And
Anybody else?
NFHS? Sorry, NFHS.
To the athletics page.
Okay.
The athletics page, yesterday there was a link to a Acacia link on their page that has all the information, including streaming. You can take a direct link right
Well,
to
those of you who are going, cheer well.
We had lots of excited kids to get on the pet bus.
Oh,
We had over 100 permission slips going out.
Oh, how many buses are going then?
3.
3 buses, great, great. I hope they have a great time. What memories they have in high school. That's great. Anybody else? Okay. I move that we, somebody else can make this. You do it. You do it.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Right, I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a good evening, everybody.